In search for an answer to this question, I went to see somebody that was smarter than me. Any female. And I picked Siri. Siri, does history repeat? And Siri says, that's a good question, handsome. I told Siri my name was Handsome, makes me feel good. I tried it again. Siri, does history repeat itself? Yes, it just did. When I finally got a straight answer out of Siri, she said that history undeniably repeats itself. And I believe her. I also believe I should never argue with a female. Well, let's go back to the year 1916, 100 years ago. Cars or automobiles were taking the place of horse and buggies. The production of cars and their accessories was at an all-time high. Those little pine tree air fresheners were selling like crazy. State and country roads were being created all across the country. One particular car manufacturer was the Maxwell Motor Corporation. And they had a sales office in New Jersey. Two of their salesmen, C.W. Tuthill and P.G. Skull, had this crazy idea. They believed that they could drive an open-air Maxwell touring car from the East Coast to the West Coast, and then back to the East Coast in the winter months. It would prove that the Maxwell was an excellent car for a family everyday use. They sold that idea to Texaco, Firestone, and the manufacturers of long underwear. And on November 16th, 1916, they left Newark, New Jersey at 7:30 in the morning. Now, C.W. Tuthill kept a diary as they traveled south through New Jersey, across Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and into the Midwest states. Now, this was not an easy trip. There were no interstates. They didn't have bridges to go across all the rivers, and there wasn't a Dairy Queen in sight. They didn't have their cell phones with GPS. They didn't have credit cards. I mean, they didn't even have cup holders in the car. At night, they would drain the water out of the radiator so it wouldn't freeze and break. Just east of Boonsville, Missouri, they missed the ferry that would take them across the Missouri River and had to sleep in the car. The following morning, they crossed the river, they went into Kansas, across Colorado, and then went south to New Mexico and Arizona. When they got to the Colorado River, they again had to take a ferry that was run by the Mojave Indians.
Wow.
They crossed into Needles, then had to drive across the Mojave Desert into San Bernardino, and eventually into Los Angeles, California. That trip took them 10 days and 16 hours. Now, I can tell you how I know history is going to repeat itself. Because on November 16th, 2016, 100 years later, my brother and I are going to recreate that trip in the same Maxwell touring car to celebrate the accomplishment of our grandfather. Our grandfather was C.W. Tuthill. Now, he was not the first one to cross the United States in a car. There were others before. For some reason or another, they decided to do this. There was Horatio Jackson, a wealthy physician and an auto enthusiast. And I have a picture that one night he was probably sitting at a bar eating peanuts and drinking beer when one of his buddies said, "I bet you $50 you can't go across the United States." And he took him up on that bet. He went from San Francisco to New York City in 63 days.
Whoa.
Get this, it cost him $8,000 to do that trip. And he never collected the $50 debt. Makes me kind of wonder how this guy ever got to be so wealthy. Then in 1908, there was Jacob Murdoch, who loaded his family into the back of a Packard Model 30. His family! Into the back of a Packard Model 30. And they drove from Los Angeles to New York in 32 days. Folks, this was the first time anybody ever heard the words from the kids, Are we there yet? Alice Ramsey, in 1909, the first female to cross the United States in a car. She did it in 59 days, had gone from San Francisco to New York. She probably could have done it a lot faster, but she kept stopping at shoe stores along the way. That trip was 3,800 miles, only 150 miles of paved roads, from what I understand, about 12 shopping malls. Then, in July of 1916, just a few months before my grandfather left, there were the Van Buren sisters, Adeline and Augusta. They rode 1,000cc Indian motorcycles from New York City to San Francisco. And they did it in 61 days, 1 day longer than Alice Ramsey.
Huh.
I suspect it's probably because they spent a day at the tattoo parlor on the way out. So although our grandfather was not the first to make this trip, according to Texaco Star magazine, they did set a new national record. Now my brother and I will do this again in the same model car. It's a 1917 Maxwell. And it's being prepared in Long Island to look just like the grandfather's. We have made one addition. We have added cup holders. We've also created a website to document our grandfather's diary, as well as pictures that he had taken on letters and postcards that he had written to his girlfriend along the way, who later became our grandmother. We have this website also documents what my brother and I are doing to prepare for this trip. We hope to make the trip in 10 days. At which point we'll turn around and trailer the car back. People that are interested in following us can subscribe to the website and you'll get a daily post as we progress out there. This has been a dream of my brother since 2008. I remember because I said, Doug, I bet you $50 you can. How do I know history's going to repeat itself? Because my brother and I are determined to celebrate our grandfather's accomplishment. And besides, it's like Siri said, history undeniably repeats itself. Handsome.
Thank you so much, Rich. Unlike Halloween costumes, repeating your speech